Put away your Lakers jersey swaps and your 76ers jersey swaps, because it's over. Zach Lavine has indicated that he wants to sign a long-term extension with the Chicago Bulls, and you guys can stop speculating and stop sending him to other teams, because he wants to be a Bull. Let's talk about it. I'm Ross. This is our Terps Fan Club. You should be subscribed. I'm making Chicago Bulls content every single day. Yesterday, I had a Chicago Bears video go up. I'm going to be talking about baseball here pretty soon. Don't miss a video. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button if you enjoy this video. I appreciate it a lot, guys. So, speaking with Rob Schaefer of NBC Sports Chicago, who I shout out Rob a lot because he does really, really great work. And right now, he's in Las Vegas covering Team USA. He just had a one-on-one interview with Zach Lavine that's up on the Bulls Talk podcast and on their website. I'm going to leave links for all that stuff in the description. It is really, really great content, and it is worth your time. There's so much good stuff in this interview that I feel like everyone should go just listen to the entire thing. Obviously, by the nature of this video, there's something specific I want to talk about, but there's stuff in there about Patrick Williams playing with the select team. There's stuff about Nikola Vucevic. There's stuff about Billy Donovan. There's a bunch of really great stuff that I encourage you guys to go read. But right now, we're going to focus on Zach Lavine's contract extension. So Rob asked him a question about whether he wants to get this contract extension done this year, next year, where his mind is with that. And here is verbatim. I'm going to read what Zach Lavine had to say. With me, I try to let my agent handle everything. But as long as it gets done, I'll be happy. I mean, obviously, I want to be with the Bulls, and you don't want to implicate, free agency. And I understand like the cap room that goes into it with a sizable extension with me. So I want the team to be good, but then I also want to be taken care of as well. I feel like I've done really well by the Bulls, and obviously I want to be here long term, and I feel like I deserve what I get. So it is what it is. We'll figure it out when that time comes. If it's this year, next year, we'll just see what happens. Guys, I'm going to speak for all Bulls fans for a second and just say, what a giant breath of fresh air, relief. It feels really amazing to hear your star player say those things after all of the BS rumors, all of the stupid jersey swaps, trade proposals, all that crap that you see on a daily basis, it feels like, with Zach Lavine. I understand he has had bad luck as a player in the NBA in his career, bad front offices. I think this is going to be like the second time in his career that he goes into consecutive seasons with the same head coach. Like, just a ton of turnover, turmoil, issues with coaches, not on his part, but just bad coaches, trades, just all this crazy stuff in his career, injuries that have derailed his ability to be a winner. And it feels like finally, with the new front office, the direction of Coach Billy Donovan, with the veteran leadership like Thad Young, Nikola Vucevic, paired with the young talent like Kobe White, like, it feels like there's actually and Patrick Williams, obviously, it feels like there's actually something big being built here in Chicago, and Zach Lavine sees it. It's not lost on him. And if you take this quote at face value, I mean, he says it verbatim. I really want to be here long term. I mean, it feels great, man. It feels really, really good. And it's a reminder that the stuff you see on the internet is just smoke and noise. It has no bearing on what Zach Lavine might actually want and what the Chicago Bulls are thinking of. And it's such a breath of fresh air. It feels really good. So let's recap really quick. I had a video about this a couple days ago, but let's just recap really quickly what the Bulls' options are for re-signing Zach Lavine this offseason and next offseason. There's technically 3 options, and once again, I encourage you guys to go watch that video I made a few days ago, but I'm going to focus on 2 options that are more realistic. The first option is way less money, and it's doubtful he would ever accept something like that. It's just not fair to his value. So the 2 options, one is this offseason, the next one's next offseason. So this offseason, what the Bulls would have to do is clear salary cap space. They'd have to renounce free agents, waiving players who have partially guaranteed salaries, like Tomas Satoransky and Thaddeus Young. And then they would renegotiate and extend Zach Lavine's contract, which they can do because he's still under contract and it's before the deadline. So they'd have to get roughly $14 million below the cap, and then they can max out that contract at nearly $195 million over the next 5 seasons, starting salary of 30% of the current cap. And as you guys know, the way max contracts work, the salary cap goes up every year. There's a projection of how much that'll be, and max contracts are a percentage of that salary cap. There are different types of max contracts based on accomplishments, accolades, time spent in the league. Zach Lavine is eligible for the max of 30% of the salary cap. So that's why when we say it starts at a starting salary of 30% of the current cap, which would be around like 33.5 million, that will go up season after season, eventually hitting around 40 million per season. So that's what the Bulls can do this offseason. Next offseason, they'd have to wade through the free agency rumors because Zach will be an unrestricted free agent, but he can make more money. And maybe that's more appealing to him to stay with the Bulls long term and make more money. And maybe he's not interested in taking those free agency meetings. It seems like that's the case. It seems like that's what he's indicated. If Arturas Karnisovas tells him straight up, and someone actually criticized me for the way I pronounced that, Arturas Karnisovas. I think I got that right that time. That if they work on an agreement, they discuss it this offseason and say, listen, we are going to give you the full max next offseason. We trust that you will be on board with this situation so you can make the most money possible and we can lock you up for the most amount of years. That's how I imagine that conversation would go, and I would hope Zach Lavine would be receptive to that. So the way that this contract looks, overall, it's a 5-year, $200 million full max offer. He sits, he plays through the rest of his deal and then becomes a restricted free agent. The Bulls offer him a 5-year max, 30% of the salary cap once again, which is projected to pay out over $200 million in total for those 5 years. 5 is longer than 4, obviously. The salary cap will go up even further, and he'll reach that 40 million per year mark. Once again, you run the risk of Zach Lavine taking free agency meetings next offseason and potentially walking. But this conversation that Zach had with Rob Schaefer, all of the talks that I'm assuming are going on behind the scenes between his agent and the front office, these are things that good teams, good front offices, they figure it out and they don't let it fester. They don't let it get to the point where the player is unhappy. And Zach Lavine does not sound like a player who is unhappy right now. In that same interview with Rob Schaefer, Zach spoke about Billy Donovan and about how much he appreciates how Billy Donovan speaks to him as a player, how much empowerment he feels playing for Billy Donovan. And that's amazing. That's exactly what we want to see. I know there are a lot of critics of Billy Donovan out there. Not everyone is a huge fan of him. I totally get that. I don't think he's the greatest coach ever, but obviously a big step up from what the Bulls were working with before. And for Zach Lavine, the first time in his career, it seems like that he's really felt a connection with his head coach. And they're going to have that consistency. They're going to have that cohesion going forward. It's not going to be, a new head coach every single season. It's not going to be a new roster every single season, unless something crazy happens, which Damian Lillard requesting a trade. We're going to talk about that later in a different video. But there's consistency there between last season and next season, and building that chemistry with your teammates is huge, especially for a guy like Zach Lavine, who is very much a rhythm player. A lot of his game comes from feel, from rhythm, playing within himself, and having teammates who can play off of him will be really, 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 really beneficial. And hopefully get us into the playoffs finally. So that's what I wanted to say about Zach Lavine's contract extension. I feel like this is pretty big to me because this is, if I am remembering correctly, the first time he has explicitly stated to the media, I want to be here long term. Like he said a few times, like, oh, we'll work it out when the time comes, or, I let my agent handle that, everything will be okay, blah, blah, blah. We've heard all that before, but he has explicitly stated now he wants to be here long term. The question isn't if, the question is when the deal gets done. So very exciting news for Bulls fans, very relieving. I don't want to see any more stupid ass trade proposals from Lakers fans. I don't want to see any more jersey swaps. If you see that shit, send them this video, screenshot the article from Rob Schaefer, because we're done with it. It's over. We're done with it. We're not doing it anymore. Zach Lavine is on record now saying he wants to be in Chicago long term. He's excited to re-sign. So stop. We're done with that. Thank you. Thank you guys again. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. If you enjoy this video, hit the like button because that helps me out a ton. It lets me know what kind of content you guys want to see going forward. And, you know, I don't want to waste my time if I'm making some things that you guys don't give a shit about. So Zach Lavine, hopefully here to stay. It feels really good as a Bulls fan. And we need to talk about Damian Lillard. That'll be a different video. So stay tuned for that. Thanks again for watching, guys, and we will talk very soon.